Let's dive in, shall we? Today we're looking at this pasted text thing.
Pasted text, yeah.
Yeah, and it looks like it's a transcript from
And podcast.
a podcast. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. It's got these two hosts, Asma and Nazim,
Mm-hmm.
and they're having this really fascinating conversation about what it means to be Muslim.
Yeah, and you know what struck me? It's not just about the belief themselves, right?
Right.
They're talking about Islam as like a whole,
A way of life.
complete way of life.
Totally. Asma, she even says straight up, like, Islam shapes your morals and behaviors.
Absolutely.
But
But it goes deeper than that.
it goes so much deeper, right? Like
Mhm.
how you treat people.
Right.
How you approach your work, how you handle, like, the tough stuff.
Yeah.
It's about, like, literally everything.
And that's what makes it so interesting to me, because then it makes you think, like,
right,
how do you live in, like, today's world
right.
where maybe not everyone's on the same page? How do you stay true to your faith when you're running into different ideas all the time?
It's such a tough question, I think, for a lot of people. Not even just for Muslims, you know what I mean?
Totally.
Okay, so they bring up this concept of tawheed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I kind of knew about the basic idea of oneness of Allah, right?
Right.
But the way Nazim describes it,
Yeah.
it was like, whoa.
It's intense.
Every moment is like a test
Yeah.
or like a blessing.
It's a whole different way of seeing things.
Isn't it? I mean, it really makes you think about your day-to-day.
It does, because if everything you do could be a test or a blessing, that changes how you approach everything.
Exactly.
Like, even little things become really meaningful.
Absolutely.
So think about that.
Yeah.
How would that affect, like, your decisions?
Oh, yeah.
Your reactions, even just, like, your mood in general?
Definitely. You'd probably think twice before doing something, without thinking.
Absolutely.
And this whole Tawheed thing,
Yeah.
this like deep awareness of Allah,
Mm-hmm.
you can really see it in the 5 pillars of Islam.
Yeah.
Salah, fasting, zakat, Hajj, and the belief in Allah.
You know, it's interesting because while those pillars are specific to Islam,
Right.
they have these echoes in other traditions too.
That's true.
Even secular stuff. Like, think about fasting.
Mhm.
People do that for mindfulness, for health reasons.
Right.
It's all about self-discipline.
Yeah.
Connecting to something bigger than yourself.
It is. It's like
Being
this,
like a human thing.
yeah, like this human thing we all kind of have
Yeah.
inside us.
It makes you wonder, are those connections just coincidence? Or is there something deeper going on?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
They talked about the Quran as this ultimate guide.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it covers ethics and social justice and all that, but
It's a lot more than that.
seriously, what doesn't it cover?
You're right. It's crazy comprehensive. It's got Islamic law, history, stories of the prophets, family stuff, how to behave, money matters, even what to eat.
Wow.
And it's had this huge impact on Islamic art, architecture, calligraphy. It's basically shaped an entire civilization.
It's amazing when you think about it.
Yeah,
The impact of just one text.
totally.
They also mentioned the whole thing about Prophet Muhammad's life being a model for Muslims.
Right.
They use the term sunnah.
Yeah, so Sunnah basically means everything the prophet did and said, and even like the things he agreed with.
So it's kind of like
It's like a really detailed guide on how to live your life in a way that pleases Allah,
okay.
like based on what the prophet actually did.
So like how they pray, how they dress, the food they eat, it all comes back to that.
A lot of it, yeah.
So I'm curious, with all that emphasis on the Prophet's example, are there different opinions on how to, like, apply his actions to today's world?
Oh, absolutely. There are always discussions and different interpretations within Islam.
That makes sense. I mean,
Yeah, how do you take principles from 1400 years ago
right.
and apply them to things like, technology, gender roles, bioethics, all that?
It's like a puzzle, a really important puzzle.
It is, and it's one that scholars and everyday Muslims are constantly trying to figure out. Yeah.
Then they mention the idea of the hereafter and accountability for your actions. That one always kind of stops me in my tracks.
It's a big one.
Does knowing that you'll be held accountable for your actions change how you live your life?
For a lot of people, it definitely does.
Yeah.
It's a big motivator to act ethically,
Right.
to really think about the consequences of your choices.
Because they matter.
Because they matter. Yeah, not just now, but maybe in the future, too.
It's a lot to think about.
It is, but it's important.
And lastly, they mentioned their goal of spreading the message of Islam.
Yeah, and that reminds us that faith isn't static.
Right.
It's always being interpreted.
Shared, debated.
Exactly. It makes you think about how different religions approach that whole challenge of sharing their message
Yeah.
in a world that's so connected yet so diverse.
So what's the big takeaway here? I think it's that for many Muslims, faith is woven into every aspect of their lives.
Absolutely. It's not just about rituals or beliefs. It's about how they experience the world, how they understand their purpose, and what they see as right and wrong.
It's a lot to consider,
Yeah.
and it really makes you think about how these ideas of seeking guidance, finding meaning, and living a better life resonate with everyone, no matter who you are or what you believe.
Exactly.
So much to think about.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
See you next time.